So you're excited to start job searching the real way, not just applying online, but you want to actually reach out to people and get a job the not traditional way. So there's a big debate on who you should be reaching out to. Should you be reaching out to more junior people who are more accessible, or more senior people who probably are in a better position to help you find a job? The answer is it depends why you are reaching out to these people. Now, there's a whole spectrum of people you can reach out to and answers to this question, and even why you would want to reach out to people. And that's kind of where career coaching comes into play. When I am dealing with someone, I will judge them on an individual basis and help them make those decisions for themselves. But today I'm going to talk about the two most popular, most general answers. And that is the analyst associate bucket and then the director and more senior level. So why would you want to reach out to analysts and associates? So the answer here is really to learn. It's not to find a job. I'm not saying it's not important. In fact, I would say it's the most important thing to do when you're starting this process off. Here are some great things you can learn from an analyst and an associate who's working in a job that you're interested in pursuing. What tasks are they actually given on a day-to-day basis? What are the actual hours they work? Because you know when it says 40-hour work week on the job posting, it's not really accurate. What drives them to come into work every day? What excites them about their job? And what do they actually love about the job? Is it the people? Is it the technical stuff they do? And a very important question to ask them, and I've never heard this asked before, except for when I tell people to ask this to analysts, what do they dislike about their jobs? Because that's really important too. If you find one area that's irritating them and that's your pet peeve, probably not something you want to pursue. What skills are critical for the job? Now this is important for you from a learning perspective and also for your resume. If you've been applying to equity research jobs and you have all the skills you think are necessary, and guess what? It turns out that all equity research analysts now are using Python and that's not on your resume. It's going to be a problem. And finally, at the end of the conversation, what you want from the analyst and associate is, hey, would you mind if I sent over my resume? You can look at it and tell me if it would be competitive in this landscape. It's funny because you would think that the directors, who are the ones reviewing or hiring people, that they know this the best. But actually, the analysts and associates, they're in the weeds. They know what's actually used, and they know what they would put on the resume if they wanted to jump to a different shop. So they're actually the best people to go to for this answer. Now, before you pick up the phone and speak to an analyst or associate, you need to think about what the goal of that phone conversation is. And the goal is what skills you need for the job, if you really want the job, and that you'll kind of learn if they love it and what they hate about it, and finally, how to actually get the job. So that's the first bucket of where you're going to do. And I actually encourage you to do a lot of that. Reach out to a lot of analysts and associates before you get to the second bucket. These are the people you really need to talk to before making your plan. Now, let's say your resume is in great shape and you have all the skills you need. And now you want that job. You're sure you want it. So that's when you reach out to the more senior people, the directors, the managing directors. And what are you going to ask them? So it's a completely different set. First, you're going to ask them to talk about the business structure of the actual bank or hedge fund that they work in. How does it work? Is trading next to sales? Where does the deal flow structured? How does risk management play into it? Obviously, you don't want to go through the entire firm, but the types and the divisions and areas that are relevant for the business that you want to get into. Show interest and learn. Listen. Make sure you pick up on everything. Then you want to get them talking about their own career path. And this goes back to something I say over and over again. I'm so proud of myself for keying this term. It's the ego stroke. You stroke their ego, they're going to feel good about themselves, and they're going to like you. It's just psychology. Maybe it's my 3 years of psychology and undergrad talking. But you always want to get them talking about themselves and their own career path. But honestly, listen and learn as well. And finally, well, not finally, I would say second to last, they should introduce you to other people. So the way I always tell people to go about a conversation like this is to never hang up the phone or end the Zoom meeting without being given a name. Someone else who, let's say you're talking to somebody, a more senior person who's not so into programming and you know programming, you might want to say, hey, is there someone in your area who's a very strong programmer who I might be able to relate with very well, who can have a conversation with me? And they'll, oh, sure, it's a great idea, actually. I know Bob. And they make an introduction. You always want to hang up the phone with an introduction, because then the conversations just keep coming and you don't have to start digging through LinkedIn again to find new people. And finally, similar to the ego stroke, but also to learn, ask for career advice. Whether this comes before or after you ask to be introduced to someone else, it's a really important thing to ask for. Ask them for career advice given someone in your situation, and that you absolutely, but obviously at this point, you have to know that you want to work in that area. So make that clear and ask them, given where I am now, what do you think the best way for me to get a job and pursue this kind of career is? So what are the goals of this conversation? Going in, your mindset has to be, I want this person to connect me with other people. I want to build my network up, which was not necessarily your goal with the Analysts Associates. You're going to build your network with this person and with the other people that the person's going to introduce you to. And finally, what you think is the most important, but I actually think it's the last important, is to get recommended for a job. If this director or whatever level of seniority person you're talking to is impressed with you and you've made a really strong connection, then in a week, 2 weeks, a month, when a position opens up, they're going to remember, oh, actually, I know someone who is very strong quantitatively, who's looking for a job and obviously very passionate about this area. What was her name again? And he'll start looking through his emails, find your name, and there you go. And I've seen this happen. So those are the two buckets I suggest, the Analyst Associate and the Director. And as I said, I suggest targeting the first bucket first, doing a lot of it, getting very strong, you're self-confident, and it'll help you have conversations with the directors. Good luck.